welcome, folks. Here we are. It is UFC 293. We're going to break down this entire card, but really quick, I wanted to thank you guys. The support over on patreon.com/138MMA has been fantastic over the last week. We've seen a lot of new faces over there. A lot of you are really excited to cash some tickets, win some bets, and just check out the notes, hang out, and have a good time. So for all of you that have already joined just recently, especially because, as that call to action, and those of you that have been there forever, since the beginning, you guys are great. I appreciate all of you very much. It really, really does mean the most to me. It makes this channel grow. It helps me get the things that I need to get to make this happen. It helps me get the resources that I need to make this happen. And the more that we grow over there, the more that this channel can grow, the more updates we get, the better it goes. So thank you guys for doing that. I appreciate all of you. And for those of you that have been on the fence, hey, you're welcome to come check it out. Do it for a month. It's $9.99. It's all cool. That's for the friend tier. That's the most popular tier. You can obviously get more perks if you go crazy, or you can get less perks if you don't want them. So, but either way, $9.99. That's my friend tier. That's you're my friends. That's the most common. So hey, welcome. If you guys want to come check it out, go on over and do it. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Now, real quick, find me on Twitter, 138MMA, Tapology, the same name, all that good stuff. If you haven't heard about channel memberships yet, you can do that. It's a little lower cost, only $2.99. What that's going to do is get you access to some sweet emojis and also a little thing next to your name in the comments down below that'll say how long you've been a channel member. Kind of shows your support and kind of gives you that front-facing appeal there. So there's that. Lastly, if you haven't checked it out yet, Grey Dog Software is a partner of this channel here. What we do, we partner up. You click that link in the description that takes you to Grey Dog Software's games. You can play one of their games. You can buy one. If you make the purchase there, it says that this channel sent you, and we appreciate that. There's some great ones over there. World of Mixed Martial Arts series is the series I played. I pretty much only care about martial arts, mixed martial arts in particular. So that's what you got. So MMA, World of MMA 5 is the one that I would recommend. You could basically be your own Dana White. You can start with a local promotion. You can start with like a UFC level promotion. You can do whatever you want. You can control it all. It's super cool. Check that out. It's in the description of this video. All sorts of other cool stuff coming up. But let's just get into these fights, shall we? See you in the first one.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages,
welterweight matchup. We have Kevin Jousset taking on Kiefer Crosbie. Crosbie 3-2 in the last 5, 4-1 on the Jousset side. Crosby's going to be a bit shorter with a little smaller reach here. 5'11", 70-inch reach for Crosbie. 6'2" with a 74-inch reach for Jousset. Now, Kiefer Crosbie, he's a good striker. He's got good leg kicks. The volume's there. The power's there. Striking defense, not so much. He will take a shot, willing to eat one, to give one, stuff like that. He's got decent grappling, though. He can get on top, land those heavy elbows in the ground and pound. Does a good job there. But he doesn't really have the cardio to go a full 3 rounds. He's going to start to fade, and I think that's because he's very much an all-action fighter early on. Now, when it comes to Jousset, a little less of an all-action fighter. His volume's very inconsistent. You never really know where he's at, but he does have solid striking. He's got a very solid leg kick, and the knees up the middle, I do like those. But he also keeps his hands way down low, and that can be a problem in the striking defense department. So both of these guys are pretty hittable. So there's that. In the grappling, I do think Jousset has a bit of a advantage here because he does have that judo background. His takedown defense is pretty good because a lot of times he'll transition that takedown defense into a throw, and he does a good job throwing his opponents. He can also push his opponents up against the cage and just get control here, wear on them, and then when he needs to, start looking to get those shots landed, do what he needs to do. I don't really have a good read on this fight, I'm going to be honest with you, but I'm going to take Jousset. I think he should be able to get it done. He's going to be the taller, longer fighter. I think he's got the better. I think he has a slight edge in just about everything except for the volume. So he could lose a decision because of volume, but I'm going to take Jousset. Like I said, it is a tough one to match up. Let's just move on to the next fight. Here we go. We're looking at a featherweight matchup here between Shane Young and Gabriel Miranda. Miranda's 3-2 in the last 5, 2-3 for Young. This is a tough one, guys. This is a wild fight because basically both guys are complete opposites. One guy is going to be very much the grappler. The other is very much the striker. We're going to start on the Miranda side. He's got slick Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so we know that he is the grappler here. His trips are his best method of getting the fight to the mat, but he can shoot traditional takedowns as well. He's very much looking for that submission. He's got 15 of them, I do believe, on the career out of 16 wins, which is pretty impressive. But he's willing to work from his back, which means he's giving up minutes pretty much the entire time. Not what you want to see. Striking is it's not that good. He swings pretty hard, I guess, but that's about it. He does come forward aggressively, but a lot of it's because he's looking for that takedown. His cardio is not the best either. You'll see him fade as fights go on, but a lot of it's because he's fighting so hard to get the fight to the mat. Now, when it comes to Shane Young, he's a pretty good striker. He strikes really well at range, using that jab, keeping it active, lots of volume there, but his striking defense isn't the best. He can be hit fairly often. When it comes to the grappling, he's not that good. He's decent at initial takedown defense, I'd say, but once it gets to the mat, he's not very good. This is a toss-up, but I'm going to side with Miranda here. Basically, I just can't pick Shane Young in a UFC fight, so I'm going to have to take Miranda. Super, super tough one to pick, and plus, Miranda's the underdog, so if you're going to take a wild stab at somebody, you might as well take the dog, I guess. Let me know what you have. Do you feel like you've got a better read on this one than I do? If so, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments. Could help me a lot. Maybe I could be swayed on this one. Love to hear from you. Let me know. See you here at welterweight with Blood Diamond taking on Charlie Radtke. I can't help but laugh when I say Blood Diamond is someone's name. I know that it's Makdessi. Blood Diamond is what you see on most things. So we're going with Blood Diamond. Anyway, Radtke 4-1 in the last 5. Obviously, Diamond is 3-2 in the last 5 because that's his entire record, which is wild that he's in the UFC. But for Radtke, he's got good striking. He's going to come forward with some power. Just use that, but his striking defense is terrible. His durability, though, is pretty good, so that helps. He does have good grappling. He's going to work to advance the position when the fight gets to the mat, and he's going to attack submissions. Now, when it comes to Blood Diamond, he's got solid kickboxing. He's got power in his kicks. He can kick to all levels. He's got power in the hands as well. The guy's the better kickboxer, the better striker, but that's just because that's what he does. When it comes to the grappling, he's got a good initial takedown defense, but after that, it's over. If you can chain anything together, you're going to get him, and then also once he's on the ground, his skill is gone. You have to take Radtke here because he's the MMA fighter over the kickboxer who's 3-2 in MMA. Yeah, you got to take Radtke. So that's what I'm going to do. I advise staying away. Maybe you throw a buck or two on something, on like knockout in like a specific round for Blood Diamond, but the odds are probably not worth it. I don't know what the odds are. But if you can get over plus 1,000, maybe it's a $5 play on a knockout in a specific round if you like that. But I think Radtke probably gets it done. Let me know where you're at. Do you think Blood Diamond has a shot here? Do you think he's going to stuff takedowns and land big shots on the feet? If so, he might be worth playing. Let me know. Love to hear from you. Matchup at lightweight. We have Haqparast taking on Landon Quinones. If you haven't done it already, though, like the video for me. I appreciate it very much. Let's break this one down. Quinones, he is 5-0 in the last 5 fights, not including the Ultimate Fighter fights. He is coming off the Ultimate Fighter season. 3-2 for Haqparast. He's obviously been in the UFC fighting a higher level of competition, so you might see some of that and think, okay, well, the record shows Landon Quinones. Well, the skills are a little bit different. Let's break it down. For Quinones, decent striking. He does a pretty good job coming forward with the boxing combinations. Does good there. Kicks to the body and the legs are something he does work. You don't see a ton of head kicks. I'm sure he throws them, but you don't see a ton of it. It's more body and legs. But he throws good boxing combinations. His striking defense isn't the best, but he makes up for it by being pretty durable. Not usually a good thing you want to see, but he does a good job there. The boxing combinations are his key to getting the victory against a guy like Haqparast if he's going to be able to do that, because Haqparast is going to come forward as well. These guys are going to meet at boxing range. Now, when it comes to the wrestling, I do think he's the better wrestler, and he does have a pretty good double leg, and he's got the cardio to keep doing it for the whole 3 rounds. That's going to be important for Quinones. Now, for Haqparast, he's a good striker with volume, and he's going to come forward as well. He does have the better countering ability, and he does a good job with it. He's got very fast hands, and he can hit those shots to the body with volume, mix it up high, mix it low. Does a good job there. He uses a lot more boxing combinations, similar to Quinones using the boxing combinations, than he does kicks. But either way, good matchup there as far as the striking goes. I do think Haqparast is the better striker, but I think that Quinones isn't so far outmatched that it's just going to look like he's got nothing for him. Haqparast does have decent wrestling as well. It's kind of developing. He hasn't really shown much there, but he does have the ability to get the takedown if he needs to. Does decent enough to be able to defend takedowns at this point. It's getting better, developing over time. He was initially pretty much a striker coming in. Now, in this one here, I do think you have to side with Haqparast. He's taking this fight against a guy who's coming off the Ultimate Fighter, didn't make it in. Obviously, he didn't look the best on the Ultimate Fighter, but that was a tough matchup for him. I do think Jason Knight is a hard opponent for anybody, and for Quinones, no shame there. Now, for Haqparast, you got to take him, though. I think the experience against higher level competition, I think the fact that he's putting in competitive fights against some of those guys makes him the better matchup here. I think Haqparast probably gets this one done. I'm going to say decision, but I don't know for sure. I'm going to say decision, though. Let me know what you have. I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you have Haqparast, or do you think that the newcomer in Quinones is going to step in late notice and get the win? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Matchup at lightweight here. We have Jamie Mullarkey. He's taking on John Makdessi. Both guys 3-2 in their last 5. Makdessi's been around the game a little bit longer, but Mullarkey has just fought not that long ago, a few months ago, 3, maybe 2 months, something like that. Anyway, let's start with Joe Makdessi. He's a good striker. He's got excellent kicks. He's going to mix them with his punches in combination. The thing is, his volume's not really the best because he's looking to counter-strike. He'll feint a lot, but he doesn't really just commit to the strikes until he can get you to respond to that feint and then strike from there. He's a very durable fighter, though, and I do think that's going to kind of carry him a ways in this matchup. He's fighting a guy in Mullarkey who's got pretty good volume. He does stick his jab really well and just kind of keep working it, but his striking defense isn't the best. In a lot of fights, he's able to break guys because he's able just to take a lot of damage, continue to come forward, and just break them as the fight goes on and get the win that way. The problem is sometimes he is a bit of a slow starter, so that can be an issue because he's going to probably give up that first round a lot of the time. Now, he's got decent grappling, and he's going to be mixing in takedowns from time to time. And when he gets on top, he does have pretty decent top control. This is a tough one, and I was this close to taking Makdessi as an underdog. He's just getting too old. He's been away for about a year. I think I'm going to take Mullarkey in this matchup, but I don't want to do it. I might change this pick. If I do, you'll see it in the community tab. You'll see it on Twitter. But for now, I'm going to lean Mullarkey. This is a tough one. I could see Makdessi winning this fight by, say, Mullarkey gives up the first round, comes back, wins the second, and then Makdessi goes out there and just lands some big shots in the third, drops him, maybe gets the win off of a drop, even though he's out volume, something like that. I'll take Mullarkey, but like I said, not confident in it. Maybe over 2.5 is good. I don't know what the odds are, but maybe that's worth playing. I think both guys are tough as nails most of the time anyway. Obviously, Mullarkey got knocked out recently, but that's where I'm at. Let me know where you're at. I'd love to hear from you. Do you like the over or under in this one? I'd like to know. Next up, we got a featherweight matchup here. Jack Jenkins taking on Kape Mariscal. He's now listed as Kape, so we're going with Kape. Jose is gone. So 4-1 in the last 5 for Mariscal. He is coming in off that win up at lightweight that he took on short notice against Trevor Peek. He's fighting Jack Jenkins, who's 5-0 in the last 5. His last fight was a split decision win over Jamal Emmers. Very close fight. A lot of people scored it for Emmers, but the score officially says Jenkins, so that's what we're going with. Now, for Mariscal, he's a good striker. He likes to strike in flurries, and he's very powerful when he does so, but he does leave himself wide open for counters, and it's because his hands return to a lower position after he throws. When it comes to the wrestling, he will mix in the takedowns, and if he gets on top, he's pretty decent there. Landing ground and pound, does what he got to do. For Jenkins, he's a slow starter. That's a problem that he's had. It kind of gives up minutes early on, but he does have good striking. His leg kicks are extremely heavy. He does have a nice jab, and he will work the body, and he can do this from either stance. When it comes to wrestling, he will mix in the takedowns, and he does have pretty darn good takedown defense. I think both of these guys are very skilled, and I think both of these guys are very similar level. But I am going to take Jack Jenkins because I do think that the hometown advantage might be a little bit for him. Might give him the, being in Australia, I think that's going to help him over Mariscal, even if it's just from the travel change, because Mariscal just made it to the UFC. I don't know that he's going to be able just to, go hang out in Australia for a month prior to this fight and just get used to it all. So for me, I'm going to take Jack Jenkins. Maybe Mariscal's been there already for in the last 3, 4, 5 weeks. I don't think so. I'm going to take Jack Jenkins. I think he gets it done. The time change is going to be a lot. And I think with them two both being very similar levels in the division, I think Jenkins will have the advantage of being close to home. And I think, maybe hometown judging, who knows. So give me Jenkins. Let me know where you're at. I'd love to hear from you. Do you think the travel is going to be an issue for a guy like Mariscal? Maybe not. And if so, let me know why in the comments below. Next up, we have a light heavyweight matchup between Carlos Ulberg and Dallin Jung. Dallin Jung is 2-2 and a draw in his last 5, 4-1 for Ulberg. In this one here, Dallin Jung is a good striker. He's really good. He strikes well at range, and he's going to be able to mix his strikes up pretty well. So he's going to mix those punches, kick, knees, elbows, puts it all together. Does a pretty good job of that. He is inconsistent, though. He's inconsistent in many ways, whether it's just performance in general, volume, things like that. He's just inconsistent. That's a big red flag for me. When he gets in the clinch, he does have very solid elbows. He's vicious with them. Cuts you open, busts you up, does a good job of it. In the grappling, that's probably his best path to victory in a matchup against a kickboxer, which is what he's got right here. He does have powerful takedowns. When he gets on top, he's got good pressure, and he has pretty good ground and pound. When you look over at the Ulberg side, dude's a solid kickboxer. He's a counter striker first and foremost. He controls the range very well. He does put together combinations, though, and he can land those leg kicks quickly, get in, get out, and do that very well. His takedown defense appears to be good so far, but we don't have a very big sample size of people getting up to him and forcing him to actually defend the takedown. Typically, he does that by controlling the range. So he's defended the takedowns well by controlling the range. I think that's what he does here. He's able to defend the takedown, land the better striking, better shots on the feet, I think that we are going to see Carlos Ulberg get the better in the striking here, and I think he gets the win in this matchup against Jung. So, for me, the pick, Carlos Ulberg. Let me know who you have. See you at light heavyweight here. We have Tyson Pedro taking on Anton Turkalj or Turkalj, one of the two. I'm going to go Turkalj for this breakdown. He's 3-2 in the last 5, 2-3 for Pedro. The Pleasure Man, Anton Turkalj. Everybody hates that nickname. I love it. I think it's fantastic. He's a decent striker, puts forth a lot of volume, and is very durable, so he just kind of comes through and does what he's got to do and just eats punches along the way. He's very wild on the feet, though. He'll spinning attacks, kind of, whatever, just crash the distance. All sorts of wild stuff on the feet, which could be to his detriment as far as taking shots, but he is durable, like I said, and he's been able to withstand most of the damage. Whether he wins on the scorecards or not, he's able to withstand the damage and come forward with that volume. Now, when it comes to the grappling, his takedown volume is very impressive. He just kind of shoots a bunch of takedowns and just keeps getting them. Whether you get back up or not, he keeps getting them. He does a pretty good job there. He attacks the submissions aggressively when he is on the mat, and he does a good job typically of that. Whether he gets the submission or not, it's just constantly making you defend the submission, similar to how he does it with the takedowns. His cardio and pacing is the thing that is his biggest weapon, and he's able to put that on guys and make them really work unless they can match that cardio and pace, or if they're able to get him out of there early like we saw with Jailton Almeida. Now, when you look at Tyson Pedro, he's got decent striking as well, but he needs the fight to be at his range, which is all the way out. He wants to be able to land his big power shots and slam those leg kicks. He wants to be able to do that without the threat of being hit back, because he likes being totally at range and just landing freely as he comes in, lands his shots, and gets out. He does a good job with the grappling as well. He's got decent takedowns, and when he gets on top of you, his ground and pound is very good. His biggest problem, though, is his cardio. Dude doesn't win if he gets out of the first. I see this getting out of the first. Anton Turkalj is the pick. The Pleasure Man is getting this one done simply because he's going to weather the storm in the first round, win rounds 2 and 3, or maybe even get a late finish. I'm taking the Pleasure Man. Let me know who you have. I'd love to hear from you. We won't take up too much of your time here. We've already broke this fight down before. It is a heavyweight matchup between Austin Lane and Justin Tafa. Obviously, that last matchup ended in a no contest, which is why you see that on both of their last 5. 4-0-1 no contest for Austin Lane. 2-2 and a no contest for Justin Tafa. Now, for Austin Lane, he is much taller, 6'6" with an 80-inch reach. Tafa, 6 foot, 74-inch reach. Interesting matchup for a couple of reasons, but we're going to breeze through it. So, decent striking for Austin Lane. He has a really good head kick. I do like that. He's pretty powerful. I mean, he's a big dude at heavyweight. But his striking defense, when he comes in and lands shots, he just kind of waits around to be hit afterwards, and that's why he gets knocked out sometimes. At least, it's what happened with the Greg Hardy fight. That's why he lost that matchup. It's just the way it is. Decent wrestling, though. When he gets on top, he's able to use that ground and pound pretty well. And he is a very athletic person, so what he lacks in skill, he can make up for in raw athletic ability. For Justin Tafa, dude's a powerful striker. He's got a solid chin. He can work the body, slam the leg kicks, and counter when he needs to. And I think the counters are what's going to get it done for him. Justin Tafa's probably going to get the knockout here. He's going to be able to counter Austin Lane at some point in this matchup and get that shot, get that knockdown. I'm taking Justin Tafa, but, it's a kind of a sloppier heavyweight fight by my estimations. I really don't know where either of these guys are going to go in the division, so I'm taking Tafa. Let me know what you have. I'd love to hear from you. Next matchup here, we have Manel Kape taking on the short notice replacement. Felipe Dos Santos is stepping in. This is in the flyweight division. For Dos Santos, we saw him ready to go for the Contender Series just recently, but that fight was off. Dos Santos was the pretty big favorite in that matchup. A lot of people were having him to win. Well, here he gets his shot now against Manel Kape, short notice, stepping in for Haqparast, who was unable to make the fight. Dos Santos is undefeated, 7-0 in his career, 4-0 in a no contest in the last 5. For Kape, 3-2 in the last 5, fighting a much higher level of competition, fighting some of the top guys in the flyweight division. Manel Kape doing very well. He is a ranked flyweight, so Felipe Dos Santos has a very tough test ahead of him. Now, we've already broke down Dos Santos in depth on that Contender Series breakdown. You can check it out. It is on the channel. But I'm going to break him down quick here. He's a good striker. He comes forward aggressively, and that's what he likes to do. He gets a bit wild at times doing that, and the striking defense suffers because of it. But thankfully for him, he's pretty durable. He's got a good leg kick. He works the front kicks and knees up the middle, and he'll obviously, of course, come in with the hands as well. Basically, he just gets a little bit too wild at times, but he is aggressive, and he can cause some serious damage on the feet. If he's going to win this matchup, I think it's because he comes out of the gate hard, and he's able to put the pressure on and put the damage on. Now, when it comes to the jiu-jitsu, he has decent takedowns, and those usually come at the end of his strike. So he'll be throwing his shots, and then boom, shoot that takedown. And he does a good job of setting up those takedowns with the strikes. He does have a good butterfly guard off his back, but he ends up on his back a lot because he's very much submission over position. His top control is just not that good, and his takedown defense is not that good either. However, he's very dangerous from the back. He does look for those submissions. On the feet, though, I think is his better path in most fights. Maybe not this one. For Kape, and the reason I say that is because he's more dangerous because he's not giving up positions and losing minutes, just to clarify. For Kape, he's a high-level striker. This dude is lightning fast. He's one of the fastest strikers I've seen. The dude is fantastic with that speed. He does have good movement as well, and he's going to set up his strikes by using feints, using combinations that draw your hands one way and then landing somewhere else. His kicks are absolutely devastating. He can be too patient at times, though. That's the problem with him, and sometimes he just gets a little bit too patient. I don't know that he's going to be able to in this one, because if he's standing there patient against a guy like Dos Santos, who's coming forward with a ton of aggression and volume, he's probably going to be forced to either do something or get swallowed up by the wave of strikes coming through. He can mix in his own takedowns, and I think we might see that here probably towards the end of a round if it gets that far. He might look for a takedown, knowing that he can secure a round, or buy himself some time if he feels like the pressure is getting too much for him. He does have a really good cage push as well, and his knees up against the cage, he throws those with such power, and the way he throws his hip forward, he can drive an opponent into the cage with that knee and does a lot of damage, more than you normally see up against the cage where guys are just landing those knees that you're like, what are those even doing? Kape puts some power into him, uses the hips really well. I think that this is going to be too big of a step up in competition for Dos Santos on short notice. I'm taking Kape here. He is rightfully a favorite. I do see him winning this fight, and I do think he's just going to be a little bit too much too soon for Dos Santos. Dos Santos is a talented prospect, and hopefully he gets another shot soon. Hopefully he gets a good, fun fight, but Kape's going to get the win. Let me know who you have. I'll see you in the next time. In the heavyweight division, we have Tuivasa taking on Alexander Volkov. Now, if you haven't done so already, like this video. I do appreciate it the most, so let's break this one down. In this one, we got two guys coming in with 3-2 in their last 5 as they're 5 on in. Volkov being the much taller fighter at 6'7" with an 80-inch reach, as opposed to the 6'2", 75-inch reach of Tuivasa. Very different fighters here, both of which are strikers, but very different fighters here. Let's break down Volkov first. He's that long, lean, heavyweight striker. He's got excellent kickboxing. Now, he's got good volume, and he's going to mix his strikes up to all levels, whether it be legs, body, and head. And that can cause problems for his opponents because he can do so at range with a very large set of weapons. He uses different styles of kicks, different styles of punches, and mixes them together very well. The front kick to the body in this matchup in particular is something that he's going to want to use because Tuivasa showed in the fight with Gane, which Gane's obviously a very good kickboxer as well, probably one of the best in the division by far. He was able to land some really nice body shots that were starting to hurt Tuivasa as the fight went on and really suck that gas tank out of him. So body front kicks, Volkov does them very well. He just jams those the ball of the foot right into the mush, and that's what you need to do against a guy like Tuivasa. He does set up his strikes very well by programming reactions out of his opponents. Now, how do I mean that? Well, let's go off the front kick to the body. So he's doing that front kick to the body, right? Lands a few of those. And as your opponent starts to just say, oh, man, I don't want to take another one of those, their hand's right here. And he sets it up by feinting that hip after he's programmed your reaction to go here. He doesn't even wait for you to react because he knows you've already done it. He feints that hip and then comes up top with a strike. Boom, hits that 2-3 combo, and he can put it on you pretty good that way. And because he's got that long range, he's completely out of distance for you to strike back while he's doing this. And it makes it so tough to get in on a guy like Volkov unless you have a very high level of wrestling or you're willing just to walk through his shots in order to get to him, which is possible. Guys have done it before, but it's harder now that he's a bigger heavyweight. He's put on that mass. He's been doing very well there. He does have decent counter wrestling as well. He is taller, and so when guys get a hold of his legs, they can pull him down off of kicks, things like that. But he does have pretty decent counter wrestling. Once he's on the mat, it's so-so, but he does a pretty good job. So I don't think we have to worry about Ty shooting a bunch of takedowns, but whatever. I'm covering the counter wrestling anyway. For Tuivasa, the dude's a good striker as well. He comes out with big, heavy shots. He slams big, hard leg kicks, and he does that very well, especially on long legs like Volkov. If he's able to land those consistently over the first couple of rounds, by the third round, those legs are going to be chomped up pretty good. But for Tuivasa, that KO power, that durability, he can usually take shots to the head pretty well, which isn't necessarily the best attribute to have, but he does it. And he is pretty durable. He's going to be able to throw big power shots. Now, this is the most underrated part of his game. When he gets you in the clinch, whether that be the cage push or out in the open mat, and he's got just that one controlling arm going, he slams these heavy elbows with ferocious volume. He slams them with ferocious volume, And what he's going to be able to do is land with serious power and make it so guys have a really hard time making it through that clinch. Because if Tuivasa gets a hold of you in the clinch right here and starts landing those shots or up against the cage, your night's about to end. I don't know that he's going to be able to do that here, and I am going to take Volkov to get the win. But if we see Tuivasa able to close distance, that's going to be a big problem for a guy like Volkov. I think Volkov's going to be able to work the body, keep him away, wear on him, and get a later finish. Probably late second round, early third is what I'm guessing. But Volkov's my pick. Let me know what you have. This is going to be a polarizing fight, I am sure. I'd love to hear from you. All right, we've made it all the way to the main event of the evening. And if you haven't done so already, this is, of course, your last reminder to go ahead and hit that like button for me. It's right below the video. If you'd already scrolled on down there when I started telling you this, you'd have been back up to the video right now. So go ahead and hit that like button. I do appreciate it very much. Now, let's break down this title fight, shall we? We have Sean Strickland coming in to challenge for the middleweight championship of the world against Israel Adesanya. Now, Strickland is 3-2 in his last 5, 4-1 for Adesanya. Adesanya's one loss being that first match in the UFC anyway against Alex Pereira. One of Strickland's losses is also Alex Pereira, so both of them have that in common. They've both been knocked out by him. So either way, there is that. Now, this fight here, realistically, Sean Strickland wasn't the guy in line, but he just happened to be the next best thing, because what happened is, obviously, Dricus du Plessis was not able to compete on this particular card. Adesanya wanted to fight on this card. It is in Australia, which is very close to where Adesanya trains, being in New Zealand. So for Adesanya, he wanted on this card. Well, guess what? Dricus can't make this card. Who's next? Handful of guys that Adesanya's already beaten, or Strickland, who's also had a history of running his mouth against Adesanya. So we've got Strickland. Let's break it down. We'll get over. We'll break it down. Okay, so obviously Adesanya's got the height and reach advantage. He is 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, 6'1" with a 76-inch reach for Strickland. Now, let's start on the Strickland side here. Let's break down what he does well, and let's see if he has some paths to victory here. So striking for Strickland, it's pretty good. Now, a lot of people give him a hard time on his striking, but he does a pretty good job. He stays relatively safe. He doesn't get hit a ton, and when he does, it's usually just, obviously his striking defense isn't good for that lead hook. We saw that in the Pedro fight. But otherwise, other than that, he does a pretty good job of not getting hit a ton. He comes forward, constant volume with the jab, just constant pressure, and just keeps working that jab. And he does a pretty good job of it. He cuts off the cage well. He started mixing in more kicks, which I kind of do like. I think it's a good thing that he does mix those in, whether that's just kind of a probing front kick or a leg kick. He does mix that stuff in a little bit more now than he used to, and I do like that. He never really overcommits to his strikes, though. He just kind of stays steady and just works that jab, works the 1-2. Occasionally, you'll see him catch a hook when somebody tries to cut a corner on him. And he'll try and throw that lead hook out there. He'll throw the cross out and come back with like a backhand or whatever. It's kind of wild, but he keeps it very safe, keeps it very simple, and he does a pretty good job of just doing that. Now, in the grappling department, he uses it mostly for defense, and that's unfortunate in a matchup where he's fighting a world-class kickboxer, but we're going to break it down anyway. He does have good takedown defense. If he does get to the mat, though, his grappling is pretty decent from what we saw back when he was fighting at welterweight. He did have the ability, at least at welterweight, to grapple with some guys of high level and do well enough. His biggest weapon, though, is his pace and cardio. Strickland seems to have an endless gas tank. The dude just keeps on coming, and I think it's just because all he does is spar it from what everybody can tell. Dude's got an endless gas tank, and he just puts that pace on. He just keeps going, keeps going. So guys that get tired are going to lose to a guy like Strickland because he's going to be able to wear him out and beat him late in the fight. Adesanya, on the other hand, isn't really the guy that you're going to be able to wear out, so there's that. Adesanya, he is a world-class kickboxer, and he's exceptionally elusive. He has a masterful control over the range, and that's what he does best. He likes to do that. We all know it. The jab, the leg kick, and move. Jab, leg kick, move. That's his best path to victory here, because if he does that, Strickland's not going to be able to touch him, and he can do that for 5 rounds and win a boring decision, which he totally could do. I do think that is his best path. I think it's the easiest path for him, and I think that he can cruise to a decision here without taking any damage, line up that Dricus du Plessis fight whenever he's ready. But will he do that? I don't know. He's also got some nice teep kicks down the middle. He's extremely accurate with his punching as well as his kicks. Does a fantastic job there. His counters are very skilled. When guys come in on him, he's able to circle off and hit that counter just beautifully timed. We saw him counter, I guess, kind of eat a couple shots and then counter back and knock out Alex Pereira. He did that very well. And a lot of that comes down to his natural reaction time, which is quick. He's very fast to react to strikes and just kind of reads his opponent before they know that they're throwing the punch. He already knows they're throwing it. Now, I understand that's not really the case, but he has a good his reaction time looks so good because he's good at anticipating what's coming next. Now, he can fight out of either stance. He's going to be able to cut off the cage from either stance. If I am to make a gripe about him, it's that he keeps his hands low, but I think a lot of that's simply to defend takedowns, which he does have pretty good takedown defense. His sprawl is very good. Now, he has a good sprawl. He also has the ability to reverse takedowns. If somebody gets in on his hips and is trying to go through and they did not commit well enough, he's able to reverse that takedown and get on top and then work back to his feet. Now, yes, he has been taken down in the past. He was taken down and controlled by Jan Blachowicz. Blachowicz is a lot bigger than Adesanya. He's a lot more muscular, a lot more built. That's just the way that is. But Adesanya's takedown defense is pretty good. So either way, this is an interesting matchup for a couple of reasons because the odds make it so you can't really bet Adesanya with any value to it because the amount of money you have to put on him to win anything, just kind of like, yeah, is that worth it? Just in case? What if he goes out there and, snaps an ankle? Like if you give me Strickland at like plus 1,000, I'd probably throw $5 on it. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure most of you would. But realistically, Adesanya should probably win this fight, right? Because Adesanya has all this striking ability. He's fantastic there. He does have pretty good takedown defense. His movement is going to make it really hard for Strickland to close that distance because he's going to come forward and plod forward, working the jab, whereas Adesanya is going to be light on the toes, circling around, using that lateral movement, hitting the leg kick, hitting the jab, moving away. He's got the reach, so he's going to be able to land before Strickland does. If I'm going to throw out a path for Strickland, here's what it is. He has to get so much in Adesanya's head that Adesanya loses his game plan. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. But that's his path. He needs to get inside of Adesanya's head, make him want to come in there and fight with him just in that gritty style that Strickland needs. And then even then, I don't know that he wins, but he does have at least a shot in something like that. Adesanya is going to be the better striker. He's going to be more accurate. He's going to be more technical. He has pretty much every advantage here except for maybe cardio, but either way, both of them have 5 rounds of cardio. I think Strickland probably has 30 rounds of cardio. The dude he just keeps going. He never looks tired. But either way, you have to go with Adesanya. I'm picking Adesanya to win the fight. There is a part of me that just loves chaos and would love to see what would happen if Strickland won and how that would go. Just what happens to the division? What happens to the UFC? Does Dana White lose his mind because he's worried about what's going to go down? I don't know. I think they'd be funny. I think it'd be hilarious, and I would love to see the chaos. But no, Adesanya's probably winning this fight. Odds are ridiculous. I mean, not really, but you can't really win anything off them. So I've rambled too much. Let me know what you have. Do you think Strickland wins? If so, let me know how because I'd sure love to hear from you. Let me know and like the video on the way out. If you haven't, see you next time.